Hello, my name is Miriam Leonard. I'm a professor in the Department of Greek and Latin. And the text I'm going to talk to you about is the drama Oedipus Tyrannos by Sophocles. And I'm going to read you now the very first passage from Sophocles' Oedipus Tyrannos in translation. Children, latest to be reared from the stock of Cadmus, why do you sit like this before me, with bows of supplication, wreathed with chaplets? And why is the city filled at the same time with incense, and with the sound of paeans and lamentations? Thinking it wrong to hear this from report of others, my children, I have come myself, I who am called Oedipus, renowned to all. Come, aged man, tell me, since it is fitting you should speak for these, what is your state, one of fear or one of longing? Knowing that I'm willing to render every kind of aid, I would be hard of heart if I felt no pity at such supplication. And the priest replies, Why, Oedipus, ruler of my land, you see the ages of us who are seated at your altars, some not yet able to fly far, others weighed down with age. I am the priest of Zeus, and these are chosen from the unmarried young. The other crowd that carries chaplets is seated in the marketplace, near the two temples of Pallas and the prophetic ashes of Ismenus. For the city, as you see, is grievously tossed by storms, and still cannot lift its head from beneath the depth of the killing angry sea. Blight is on the buds that enclose the fruit, a blight is on the flocks of grazing cattle, and on the women giving birth, killing their offspring. The fire-bearing god, hateful pestilence, has swooped upon the city, and harries it, emptying the house of Cadmus, and black Hades is a plutocrat in groans and weepings. Okay, so this is the opening scene of Sophocles' Oedipus Tyrannos, and what we have here is Oedipus as king addressing his people and trying to find out why they have come to supplicate him. And the priest of Zeus replies to him that the city is in the grips of a plague, and that everything is being blighted by this plague, both the flocks and their livelihoods, but even women who are having stillbirths. So the whole city is in the grips of this terrible pestilence, as he says. So I think we could all immediately identify with this passage. This is a passage that talks about the role of leadership in a crisis, the specific role of a leader in the context of a plague, of a pandemic that's blighting his people. And Oedipus is called upon by his people to help them out because of the faith they have in his intelligence, in his knowledge, and in his expertise. So I think, that setting, that question of leadership, that question of how the leader relates to his people, the obligations of the leader to his people is very important here. But there's another reason why this text is such an important text for the history of literature, and that is that it became the cornerstone of Freud's understanding of psychoanalysis. Freud, as you know, famously came up with the Oedipus complex, and it was from a reading of a play that he came to that position. The Oedipus complex puts an emphasis on the play's discussion of incest and murder, and that's obviously a crucial element of this play. But another element that Freud brings to the fore is Sophocles' awareness of the role of language and literature in the creation of the unconscious. And this first passage, I think, especially speaks to that theme. Oedipus's first words in the tragedy, the very first word that he speaks in his tragedy is children. And here he's addressing his citizens as children, and this is a well-known political metaphor to address the king addressing his populace as the father of the nation. But something else is going on. When Oedipus utters the word children, he says more than what he means. To be a child of Oedipus is to be something deeply ambiguous. Oedipus, as you remember, is both the father and the brother to his children. And so to be a child in this incestuous situation is something deeply ambiguous and deeply troubling. And for Oedipus to utter the word children right at the beginning of this drama basically shows how Oedipus is not in control of language, how there's something in his use of language which means more than he's able to say.